Welcome to the Militia Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Trigger Militia, and my guest today is a streamer by the name of Daddytrax. He streams on Twitch. He's got a super unique stream with a fictional character that is a plank. I mean, it's just unlike anything I've ever seen. I had a great talk with him. He's a family man. He's got a wife and a couple of kids and a brand new baby. We talked about all kinds of things, how streaming affects family life. I met him through Instagram, so we talked about his Instagram content, and we got to reflect on a bunch of different things as content creators. This talk was really, really interesting. It was a lot of fun, and he's an amazing guy. Without further ado, give it up for Daddytrax. Yeah, just tell me who Daddytrax is. Let's start there.
Who is Daddytrax? I'm a dad. I'm a gamer. I've been gaming my entire life, and I don't even know where to go with this question. But I guess I'm a Twitch streamer,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love entertaining people and playing for an audience. And back in, I guess it was 2016, I was part of this Halo podcast community, and it was like the coolest people I've ever met. And for a long time, like, I grew up playing Halo. My friends played Halo. Everybody at my school played Halo. We all played Halo 2. We would carry TVs and Xboxes over each other's houses just to like set up LAN parties all the time.
Cool.
And with every Halo that released, there's like a little bit less people that continued playing and a little bit less people that continued playing. And once Halo Reach hit, everybody stopped playing.
Really?
Yeah, and then like it also kind of like just coincided with like graduating from high school, and so everybody kind of like moved on and separated in different ways. And one of the things that we all lost was like playing Halo. And I was, I didn't keep in contact with anybody from high school or anybody who I grew up with or anybody from college. I dropped out after a year and a half.
Okay.
And so I was like, I want to get back into video games. And I was playing Halo 4 and I didn't know who to play with. And I looked up podcasts because I would listen to podcasts all the time. And I found this podcast called Drunken Halo. And it was this group of just like really cool, chill people. And they would host these tournaments. And these 1v1 tournaments. And so I jumped in on one of these 1v1 tournaments. And it was really cool because it was like everybody kind of had the same story of like, we all used to play Halo with our friends. All of our friends stopped playing Halo. And so we were all like the adults who wanted to continue playing video games, but just didn't have anybody to play with.
Right.
And somehow we all kind of like found each other through this podcast community.
That's awesome.
I was playing. Yeah. It was really cool. And so, they hosted these 1v1 tournaments. And I played in one, and people were asking to like watch the games. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'll just stream all my games. I have an Xbox Connect, I have the Connect,
Yeah.
I have the Connect, and I have the webcam, and I can stream right from my Xbox. He's like, I'll stream my games.
Sure.
And something about that experience of just streaming my games, having people who are watching me, there's just something that was like, it was more interesting and more fun for me to be playing for people than it was like to be playing by myself.
Right.
And since then, I just had it in my head. I was just like, no, like streaming is what I enjoy far more than just gaming. And even now, like I don't enjoy gaming by myself.
Right.
I'll play with my son or like,
Sure.
If everybody's asleep upstairs or something like that, I'll put on Minecraft or something like that. But for the most part, I only ever game when I stream. And I've just fallen in love with streaming. So Daddytrax is a gamer, streamer, and I do a lot of social media stuff, I guess.
Yeah. No, I noticed. I mean, I've been following you on Instagram for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I noticed about you that kind of, I don't know, drew me to you because you're very, you seem very real. Like,
okay,
the things you share with your audience on Instagram in particular, it just seems very like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's very real to you. Like, it's very your feelings, you're honest, you're very open with your community. And I thought that was really interesting because one of the things that I've learned about being a creator over the last 2 years, I've only been creating content for 2 years.
Okay.
I decided that the 9-to-5 thing really wasn't for me. And
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. And I love gaming. So I really tried to figure out how to make gaming a career. Yeah. So I started creating content. That's the bottom line. But In creating content these last 2 years, I've realized that every time you create a piece of content, whatever it is, if you're curating a piece of content or if you're streaming or whatever you're doing, you're sort of giving a piece of yourself, right? You're putting a little piece of yourself out there. And it was really interesting to me that you were willing to do that on a daily basis on Instagram. Like it's hard to just share everything that you're thinking or feeling, obviously with regards to gaming for your Instagram.
Sure.
But yeah, it's and you do a lot of family stuff too, I've noticed too. So it's you're willing to share the joys of the new baby, which congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And your other son. So I think I don't know, that's what drew me to you. But I've been following you for a while, and I've noticed that you're very, very real. So that was the one thing that really got me a little more interested in. And this podcast is a new venture for me. Like I was telling you, I've been marginally successful on YouTube so far, and the podcast was something that I really was interested in doing. So it's nice to have someone like you say yes and come to the podcast.
Absolutely, man.
So anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I love podcasts. I'm a mailman, right? Like that's my full-time job.
Yep.
And so for 8 hours, actually, if the post office is listening, I actually never listen to anything. But if I was going to listen to anything during the day, I would listen to only podcasts and maybe some audiobooks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I sure don't. I don't create any content while I'm at work either.
It would be a great way for me to keep up with everything and really enjoy. I could just imagine myself enjoying podcasts very much if I was able to do that. But yeah. So when you invited me for this and. I love podcasts. I used to do a podcast for a very, very short amount of time with a friend of mine. And, it was really his thing that I kind of came in and like helped him out with for a little bit. But the experience that I had, I really enjoyed it and I really loved it. So yeah, anytime somebody wants to sit down and talk, I mean, I love having conversations anyway. So it's perfect.
One of the things that I was pretty interested in you is I was wondering how you would describe being a creative person to someone who's not creative. There's probably a lot of listeners or people who are going to see this that are not necessarily creative people, or they don't know if they're creative people. How would you describe like being a creative person to someone who's not?
Boy, that's such an interesting question. I've never thought of myself as a creative person.
Sure.
This is going to sound kind of dumb, but the reason why I've never thought of myself as a creative person is because I can't draw or do artwork.
Me neither.
And I always associated creative people with like being able to do that, or creative people with like, people who like were kind of like almost like a genius level, but like kind of crazy, those like stereotypical like directors who are like angry at everybody and yelling. I don't, it's interesting because creativity comes up in so many different forms. I know that I think psychologically being creative has a bit to do, with just, having intelligence and being able to kind of like I remember somebody telling me that like, if you daydream, like that means you're a creative person. If you find yourself just kind of like thinking about other things, maybe you don't see it as like, oh, I'm putting this art together, but like being able to kind of disassociate yourself from whatever's happening in front of you and sort of like living off somewhere else. Like to me, that kind of like, that's sort of like a sign, like you can be creative and there is some place that your mind will go and wants to go sometimes. And I think being creative really is just kind of giving yourself permission to go there and see what's there and then find some way to express it. I think that's because I think everybody is creative, to an extent, I guess. It's hard for me to say like, oh, everybody's this or everybody's but I think most people are creative and most people have that potential to be creative, but it really is just trying to figure out like, what's your outlet? What do you want to create?
Right.
I think inherently people are creative, but I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I've always tried to describe it as like kind of giving a piece of yourself. There's always like a little piece of you in your content. And I don't know, for me, I'm a little bit, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit sensitive when it comes to comments. And I try
you can't read them.
I try so hard to to react or give a comment reply to everyone who comments to something on my content, because I think it's important to show the gratitude side of things. But
Sure, I get
that means that I get to read a lot of other things that I don't want to read.
Yeah,
And
the bad stuff.
so anyway, I think it took me a while. I just was kind of getting back to being a creative person. It took me a while to figure out that the thing that I was creating is not necessarily representative of me. You know, it's not me. It's just something that I've made and put out into the ether. And I'm still working on that, but that's kind of how I would describe it to someone.
If especially the way that you think of creativity, right? If it's a part of you that you're putting out there and you get judged on it negatively, well, it's like, oh, well, somebody's looking at you negatively.
Yep.
You know, and so I totally get that. I don't know if I just heard the right things from people, but I tend to just like anything that's really, really positive and really good, I don't really believe it, and anything that's really bad, I also don't really believe it. So I'm sort of like lucky where I've just kind of happened to be able to like somebody who has some kind of comment, but I don't feel like is coming in with any kind of like, oh, really good or oh, really bad. Like I'm able to hear that.
Yep.
You know, because I get some people who are just like, dude, you're my favorite, and I don't believe it, right? Because like,
right, of course.
One, I don't feel like I'm anybody. I don't feel like I've done anything. Same. So, you know, it's like I don't hear those. And then the people who are just like, I've gotten people. One comment that I remember in particular, this wasn't too long ago. They said that I weaponize my son for content. I don't even know what that means, weaponize my son. But I remember reading that and just going like, this comment, right? And you might appreciate this. This comment is not a reflection of what I'm doing.
Right.
This comment has nothing to do with me or my artwork or my content. This comment has to do with them.
Yep.
You know, this content or this comment is actually more about, although they're commenting on what I'm doing, it's really a comment about who they are to say something. It's kind of like crazy like that. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. What does it take? Like, I don't think I've ever left a comment on a YouTube video that wasn't like someone that I knew that I was like supporting. It's more like if I watch a random video, I just watch the video for the information and I kind of move on. Maybe I'll thumbs up it if it's a good video. I'll give them a thumbs up. But like, what does it take to watch a video someone clearly put work into, right? And then to write something nasty on that? I just don't like, what frame of mind do you have to be in to do that? So I kind of feel bad for people who leave bad comments. I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know, maybe their life isn't going so well.
I think there's two different kinds of people who leave comments. And I wish I could put everybody in the category of like, oh, they're miserable, you know, that's why they're saying nasty things. I think there's people who just love being trolls and just love getting under people's skin. Of course. And I think that they actually have a really good time with it. Sure. And then I think that there's the people who are, you know what, like, I don't know. I don't, right? And it kind of like, I remember somebody, half the things I say are like, oh, somebody told me once, but I remember hearing something about like, when you're playing a game, like you want to be having the conversations that are going on the field, not the conversations that are happening in the stands.
Yeah.
Right. So like when you're doing content or when you're creating content, you have to think about like the comment section, or you don't have to think about, but a way to think about it is like the comment section is the stands, you know, and you can interact with people who are in the stands, but you don't want to get lost in the stands. And the conversations that happen in the stands is not like, it's not like, for lack of a better term, or lack of a better way to say it, it's like not the important thing that you should be occupying your mind with, you know? So I rarely ever leave comments in any kind of comment section, unless it's like somebody who I'm supporting and, you know, I want to leave them like a nice comment or something like that. Or I get a lot of people who are like really young and they're starting out their YouTube journeys, and some of them make music and, you know, they're at the very beginning of it. And I want to be like encouraging to them, like, hey, keep it going. Like, hey, I can kind of see how you can turn this into something that's really good. I don't want to lie to people and say like, oh, this sounds amazing if it doesn't sound amazing. But you can say really nice things to people who need a lot of improvement. And so like, I like to do that kind of stuff, but typically awesome. I'm not hanging out in comments and ripping on people.
How's, just to switch subjects real quick.
Sure.
How's your wife, deal with the streaming and the balance between like work life and then streaming and then like family time? Like, is there,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that? How do you balance that scale?
This is the most DMs that I get are about this. And I've actually been thinking about curating a lot more of my content on Instagram to address, because I feel like nobody really talks about it.
Right.
My wife and I have had so many conversations, and she is so included with what I want to do. And I'm so included with like what she's thinking about, like how, like what we're doing with our family.
Yep.
That like so for anybody who doesn't know, my schedule for streaming is I just recently changed it. It's 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? Yep. So it was these 3 days, and it was like in the cracks of the schedule all the way at night. I didn't want it to interfere with any time that the kids were awake, right? So like they all go to bed. I say they all. I just had a kid born like 2 weeks ago. Really, it's just the one would go to bed by about like 7:30, and then we would hang out for some time, and then at 9:00 I would start. And then like we wanted to change things up a little bit, so I moved everything. So I guess I'm rambling on here, but basically everything is a conversation. Everything is done together. And I think there's two sides of it. I want to be a really good dad. And I want to be a really good husband, more so than I want to be a really good streamer.
Yeah, that's important.
But being a really good streamer is right there underneath. You know what I mean? It's not like there's all these other things. It's like, no, this is really important for me. And this is something that I love to do. But 100% being like, I know if I were to end up going full-time streaming, but my entire family fell apart, I would be thinking to myself, I wouldn't be thinking to myself like, hey, at least I made it. It would be like, wow, was this really worth it? No, absolutely it wasn't. People are always more worth it. And so everything is a conversation. And we've literally set up schedules, and we've mapped out our lives to figure out where it makes sense to stream. And I'm really committed to that. And so I also don't do like a lot of extra things. I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I don't scroll on social media. I try and be very purposeful with my time. And you've been following me for a while on Instagram. When I was posting like 6-7 times every single day, like that is every single break I get coming up with something else. So like I've always been very like just doing things. The post office is really messed with me. There's a lot of hours, and I don't really have access to my phone a lot when you're delivering mail. So I haven't been able to do as much, but everything's purposeful, and everything's a conversation with my wife. And I really try and put her in control as much as I can, of just like, hey, look, I love, and this is like one of the first conversations I had. I love streaming. I really want to do this more than anything else that I want to do, but you're first. Can you help me figure out a way where this can work for our family?
Right.
And like going in with that approach, it's like, okay, well, like what's the solution we can come up with here? And I think luckily my wife is just so awesome, and she's like, yeah, let's find a way to make this work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I have sort of a similar approach and story. My wife's extremely supportive, and I think I'm only doing one stream a week. I just started this because the demand for a Need for Speed streamer from my community was pretty high. Like people wanted to play with me and stream and all of this stuff. So I just started streaming on YouTube, and
awesome.
Yeah, and it's going well, but like I'm only doing it once a week, and I'm exhausted when I'm done. I'm like, whew, this is, and I'm only doing 3 hours, and
I was just about to ask how many hours you're doing.
Yeah, 3 hours. I can't, like longer than that, it starts to get, because you feel like you kind of have to be on a little bit, and maybe that's maybe that's just me being new to the game. I don't know.
That's 100%. You have to be on.
So and, I don't know. I'm exhausted afterwards, so I can't imagine doing 3 days a week, and then also sort of piling on the videos that I'm making, because most of my time spent curating like actual edited videos for YouTube and things like that.
Yeah,
so it's a little different, but man, kudos to you for for 3 times a week, 3 hours a day. It's crazy. I
wish I could do more. I really do.
Yeah. Well, what's holding you back? Do you feel like it's just the amount of time you have and
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it at 3 nights a week. I mean, doing 8 to 11 is a lot more manageable for my family. So like
Sure.
before I was doing 4 hours and I was doing 9 to 1. That
Okay.
was really tough because I would finish at 1, but then I mean, I got to put clips up on Instagram, so I got to do all my editing and stuff like that, and then I'm working on other things at night. So I wasn't going to bed until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd have to get up for work the next morning, by like 6:30 or so. And my little one gets up at 7. So the nights that I was streaming, I was just taking a hit, and I was just like, you know what? If I have to take a hit 3 days a week and I only get 3 hours of sleep, I'll do it. I'll be okay. And then once I switched my schedule to 8 to 11, and now I don't do the editing on the nights that I stream, all of a sudden I just like I have so much more energy. And it's like, wow, only getting 3 hours of sleep 3 days a week was really taking a toll on me. And I had no idea. It was just like what I was used to, because I literally have been doing it since the very beginning of 2018. So for like 2.5 years, I'm getting, I'm losing a lot of sleep, but like you're just used to it. Yeah. And so yeah, I sort of forget what you even asked me, but yeah, finding the times. Oh yeah, the times for streaming, it's 100% just like I'm not able to do more right now, and oh man,
where do you want to be?
Wish I could.
I mean, how many days a week would you like to stream?
Well, I think I would really like to stream maybe 4 days a week and then have a whole day or 2 days. Like I'm so used to working 6-7 days a week. I'll have to take 1 day off. So at least maybe 4 or 5 days streaming and then 1 day to just all the other kind of content. Because I don't believe it's possible to last as a streamer for a long time if you're not making content everywhere else.
Yeah, I agree.
And right now, Instagram is like my main other thing that I'm doing. And I would just love to like make better content. I'd love to get involved in YouTube. I'd love to start a podcast. Man, there's so many. I wanted to start a fictional podcast that takes place inside the little world that I've created for my stream. Like there's like a lot of things that I want to do, and I just
let's talk about that. Let's talk about that fictional world inside your stream a little bit, because
I'm so excited. I think it's finally coming together.
I think it's one of the things that makes you really interesting. I'll be honest, I have not watched a lot of streams. I don't watch streams at all, let alone anyone that I know. But I've popped into yours a few times. I've seen like all the clips that you post on Instagram. That's most of the content I consume from you. Okay. And I find Planky to be super interesting. And okay, at first, let's put it this way. When I was first introduced to you on Instagram, I saw this and I was like,
people hate him.
Like, wait a minute. Like, this guy, he's just a gimmick. This is all it is, right? And then I started watching the clips, right? And it just hooked me, because it's like this, it's like an alter ego. Anyway, I'll let you explain it. So like what
No, you're not wrong.
Talk to me about Planky, and like how did Planky come into creation?
I'm glad you asked it that way, because it's really hard to talk about Planky right now without kind of giving you a backstory. Because 100%, if I were to find me on the internet, I'd be like, I'm not watching this guy. This is stupid. This is so gimmicky. This isn't even creative. Like, this is really low bar production. How it started out is I just wanted to do a little gag on my audience when I was playing Fortnite. Okay. And I wanted to attach eyeballs to like a baseball bat, or put eyeballs on like just something that my wife could kind of hold into the frame, into the camera, and just allow my viewers to go, what is that, dude? Because they were all younger when I was playing Fortnite. And just for them to like freak out and just go, what are those eyes? Like, what's like, that was the idea I had. It was just like a one-off joke that I could do one time and I could have fun with it. And so I'm looking for something to put eyes on. And my dad, we have a deck. Okay. And there was one summer he took all the boards off of one side of like the wall. Like it was like double planked, I guess. I don't even know what the word is. But he was staining the deck, right? And so he took all the planks off he took half the planks off on the deck. He never put them back up. So I have this garage filled with these wooden planks. And so, like, being downstairs, my wife just grabbed a plank and she's like, let's put eyes on this thing. And so she put eyes on it, and then she was like, hey, let's just put a nose and a smiley face on him. And then like it became Planky. And at first At first, I thought it would be funny if I just beat this thing up. If like he looks like a cartoon character who looks like straight out of a kid's show or something like that. So like all the gags at first were just like I would get. This was another thing. I would get angry on stream, but like I wanted people to enjoy the anger.
Right.
And anytime I would get angry, people were like, "Dude, it's okay. Are you all right, bro?
Yeah.
It's not so serious." And I'm like, "No. I want you to enjoy this because I love it when people get angry on stream and in videos." You know, Michael from Rooster Teeth, when he did Rage Quit, like I loved listening to him freak out and get angry. So I wanted to kind of like do something similar to that. And like, but everybody who was watching me was like concerned for my well-being. And I'm like, no, like enjoy this, please. And so I thought like, okay, what's a way I can get my anger out where people know it's a joke? If I take a baseball bat to this plank of wood with eyes and a smile on it, like people will get that it's supposed to be funny. And so that was it. That was all Planky was. Planky was this stupid little thing I was going to put on my stream, have it come into the screen, and then I'd be able to beat it up. And it has evolved into a character on my show who is the director. He's the producer. He does everything. And he's now building this whole narrative and this whole story. The whole like there's a lore that exists on my stream, and I'm still putting it together. And I have some artwork that's getting made, so that way I can kind of like, so like what'll happen is like I'll be in my gaming scene on stream, and then when I switch over to my intermission, have you ever played Skyrim? Where like you look at the loading screen and it gives you like a little, like it's like a short little information screen about something. So I'm creating a whole bunch of those that have to do with the lore behind my stream. So like you get like 5 seconds and it talks about like what a plank is and the species of plank and how they live on this planet or whatever. And then like I'll just have those kind of pop up every once in a while, so people kind of like start putting together sort of like this lore and this world that I'm trying to create. And so the idea is like every human who's like me, every human in this fake world is introverted. I've always been introverted, not so much anymore. I don't know when my personality changed, but like introverted, a little bit more shy, always sort of wanting to be the guy who just kind of like did whatever he wanted, but like I was just always like too scared to. And Planky is sort of like the id, right? He's sort of like all the things that I want to say and I want to do and the way I want to behave, like that is what the planks are in this world. So the idea is like the planks by themselves get themselves killed all the time. They get themselves beat up all the time and they can't survive on their own. But the humans aren't any good by themselves either. So combined, every human, every subscriber for my channel, every guardian, that's what I call them, every guardian gets paired with a plank. And together, those two like, you know, fight off all the beasts in this made up little world or whatever. Awesome. So Planky on stream with me, he basically does color commentary and he'll kind of like pitch in with his ideas every once in a while. And just like, you know, he's a piece of wood. So he's kind of a jerk, you know, and he, you know, he says things that aren't very nice to me and I say things that aren't nice to him. And so we have a good time.
No, you guys have a great time. I've seen a lot of the clips. So it is unique. That is the one thing. It's for sure unique. I don't see a lot of that going on in the streaming world, but I also don't like consume a lot of streams, but that's unique. I have to give it to you on that one.
I can say I'm aware of a lot of what's going on in streaming. It's not something that I see anywhere. I really don't. Some streamers will put themselves in another world.
Sure.
Some streamers will interact with other things, but I have yet to see somebody else have a 5-minute long conversation with themselves and people actually enjoy it.
That's gotta be tough, man, having to like compartmentalize like his personality with yours and then having to like keep track of how you would react to something and how he would react to something, and then I don't know, it's in my head, it breaks my brain. We'll just put it that way.
Well, I used to practice driving to work. I would talk out loud. Like when I first started streaming, one of the things that I was told was like, hey, you need to be able to talk the entire time without anybody being in your stream. And for 6 months, anybody who's starting out streaming, or maybe you've been streaming for a little bit and you're like, well, I have 0 viewers. Sometimes I have 1, sometimes somebody talks, maybe I have 2, 3, 4, 5, and then everybody leaves. That was my experience for like a year. And I just started talking the entire 4 hours that I would stream every single time. Just talk, even with nobody there. I would just talk and talk and talk, and anything that came to mind, I would talk. And I wasn't any good at it. I was terrible at it. I was like, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to talk about. So I started practicing driving to work. So driving to work and driving home from work has now become this playground for me to like actually exercise my mind to do the things that I want to do on stream. So once I realized I needed to have conversations with myself, sometimes I do it when I'm delivering mail because I'll get like an idea in my head of like an argument that he and I can have.
Right.
And I have to do the voice, otherwise like it doesn't work. So I'm always like a little bit nervous somebody's gonna see me. Hey, this mailman, something's up with him. Somebody needs to take him off the street. I don't know.
This guy over here is talking to himself. I don't know what he's saying. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's a good time.
It's fun. I have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Even if nobody else enjoyed it, I love doing it. So I'll just continue doing it.
I think that's super important though. Like, I've been only been creating content for a couple of years, and most of it's YouTube. And for a full year, it felt like no one was looking at the content.
Yeah. 100%.
So there was this kind of feeling where, I don't know, it felt like I was doing it, but I was really doing it for myself because I enjoyed making the content. But when people started watching and listening and sort of taking my advice, the payoff was huge. Like,
oh, sure.
It was super big. And I don't know if that you experienced the same thing. Like you said, for a whole year, you were sort of streaming to 0, 1, 2 viewers, which is really tough, man. I mean, I definitely went through that 2 years ago when I decided, I want to be a streamer. And I started streaming, and like no one came.
No one.
For months. And I eventually switched into YouTube. But like for you, what was that? Was there a moment? Was there a gradual build? Like, how did you get to a point where, you've got, every time I check in on you, you've got anywhere from like 20 to 50. I don't know what your current numbers are, but you've got a decent amount of people in your stream.
Yeah. Since switching from Mixer to Twitch, I mean, I've certainly taken a step back. It's probably more like 15 to like 35 now.
Okay.
Also depending on what game I'm playing. I've been playing like a lot of random games recently, and sometimes there's an audience for them, sometimes there's not. Sure. Anytime I play Minecraft, anytime I play Halo, there's more people in there because I think more people know me for those games.
Sure.
But yeah, I think, you know what? I wish I could say that like it was so hard and like I just told myself I'm gonna keep going. I never thought about it. I never thought about there not being anybody. I just assumed people would, as long as I was putting on good content. And I think that's really important because I get so many DMs from people who are starting out and they're like, nobody's watching me. What do I do? Nobody's watching me. I'm like, you just have to do it with nobody watching you.
Yeah.
Like you have to figure out how to just forget the viewers. Like I almost wish that if you streamed on Twitch, you couldn't see your viewers or your followers for like the first couple months, because I think like people just get so distracted. They get so distracted by the numbers, and it's like the numbers still don't even matter for me. And I've been doing this for a long time. Like I don't think numbers really matter until you're talking to companies for sponsorships and stuff like that.
Right.
Like numbers really don't matter. I mean, I guess it's a good way to kind of gauge like if you're doing anything right. Because if you've been doing it for 2 years and nobody's following you and nobody's watching you, like, okay, we need to make a change here.
Switch it up.
Yeah, exactly. But I really think that like, if you just have it in your head, what kind of content do you want to make?
Mm-hmm.
Watch yourself. Do you enjoy what you make? I know this sounds kind of narcissistic. I will watch my own clips and I will laugh out loud and I will think that they're funnier than other people will, but that's okay because I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying my clips. I'm enjoying what I'm making. And if other people enjoy it too, well, that's great. And I hope that they do. And I hope that they get the same, I hope they get the same enjoyment. But yeah, I think it's this period of time in content creation that's never talked about, and I wish it was talked about more because it's so important for kind of like building the good habits for when you do have an audience. And I'm convinced that I'm sort of convinced a little bit that you don't ever really build an audience until you do those things like on that higher level. I almost feel like you have to be making the content like on the next level above you And then once you start doing that, then like those viewers and those follower counts then like happen for you. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no, it totally makes sense. It's like the same, like the analogy, like, you dress for the job that you want, not the job you have type of thing.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I totally agree with that and believe in that when it comes to content creation for sure.
Yep. I think for streamers, and I can't say from experience, but it seems to me it's really hard to start out with nothing and then build an audience purely based on streaming. Yeah. Like for me, I have okay streaming numbers, even though I just started out because I built an audience on YouTube first. Yeah. And I think that can help people, but that's not easy either. Like if I had to pick, I don't know which one's easier. Is it easier to create content or is it easier to stream from nothing? Because both were really hard. Like,
it's nuts. Whatever platform has the most discoverability and can bring people to you is going to be the best one to make content for growing. Like I like today's a great example. On Saturdays, sometimes I don't post at all on Saturdays because I'm just hanging out with my family, and today was one of those days. I mean, I don't think I put like anything up in my stories today, but I've gained I think like 6, 7, 8 followers today, and they're people like I'm being recommended to people to follow, right? When I first started out on Instagram, the only way people were finding me is if like I appeared in hashtags or if my posts were doing okay, or if I interacted with people. It was so hard with streaming and with Instagram in the very beginning when you have nobody who's watching you. But for sure on Instagram, you can at least interact with people on like a micro level where they will follow you back. Streaming's tough because on streaming, if you're gonna consume somebody's content on streaming, you're staying for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes hours. And this is why like the whole follow for follow thing in the streaming world makes no sense to me. Because like if you do follow for follow with 10 people and you're hoping that like people are going to support each other, there's no way you're watching 10 other people's streams. Like it's too much content to consume. Sorry, this is like how my mind works. I'm like so ADD. It goes in like so many different directions. But to kind of like bring it back, I think it's hard everywhere. I think it's hardest in streaming. Because the way that it gets organized in streaming is whoever has the most viewers goes to the top of the directory. So it's all merit based. But it's merit based on like who's watching. So like you have to build an audience somewhere else for them to then come check you out while you're streaming. Then you have to be good enough streaming that they hang out for more than 10 seconds before they're like, oh, I liked his YouTube stuff, but I don't care for his streams at all, which happens to a lot of people.
Oh my God. I'm sure it happens to me all the time. I'm sure every single stream, there's someone's like, oh, he's streaming. I love his content. Let me go check him out. Oh, he's boring.
It's totally different. It's totally different. So and I actually try and educate my audience a little bit and teach them like, hey, look, I'm not a 3-hour long exciting YouTube video, but what I am and what this place is, that's how I like will talk to people about it. I'm like, what this place is like the football game on Sunday where everybody comes over to one person's house to watch the football game, but the important part is hanging out with each other, not necessarily the football game. So like people are showing up in my stream for each other over and over and over. I mean, I have people with, again, I only stream 9 hours a week. It used to be 12 hours a week. I have people with over 500 hours in my stream because they're there all the time. The only reason they're there all the time is for the other people who are there all the time. It's not for me. It's really not. Like I'm kind of enjoyable enough that they don't change the channel, right?
Sure.
But really, they're there for each other. And that's what makes streaming so much different is because like on Twitter, if you like one of my tweets and you check out my profile and you go, oh, he said a couple of funny things, let me follow him. Now I'm interacting with him. And then if you do that enough with enough people on Twitter, then Twitter starts recommending you to people. Same thing with Instagram. But streaming, I think streaming's a lot harder because of that.
Yeah, there's literally no discoverability on Twitch, on Mixer, on YouTube. Well, YouTube is a little bit different, but for the streaming side, there's not really any discoverability. It's weird. It's really hard.
There can't be. No, like, what are you gonna do? Recommend somebody else's stream? Well, like streamers are gonna freak out with that. If I know that you're recommending other streamers while I'm streaming, I'm really like, I don't like this website. I may as well have like 10 people every 10 minutes come into my stream and say, hey, I'm streaming over here. Like, that's not okay. So that's out of the question. and then I'm going to host somebody when I'm done, and my viewers are going to go there. So like, what are you going to recommend to people when they go over there? And then if you're Twitch or if you're any of these websites and you want people to stay on your website, you're going to show them the top streamers because they're most likely going to be the people who keep people on your website.
Yep.
So yeah, discoverability on streaming I think it's impossible. I honestly think it's a lost cause.
It's the one thing that I think really gives YouTube an advantage. And I think Twitch really has the streaming audience. There's a lot more people that are like trying to consume streams on there because that's what Twitch is. But I think the one advantage that YouTube has for the creator is that you can get found in like 5 other ways, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really different. And this is funny. I wanted to ask you about this. When Mixer made the decision to shut down, and I saw you made the decision to go to Twitch, was there walk me through that a little bit? Like what was why wasn't YouTube and Facebook higher on the list? Like what made Twitch stand out for you?
Sure. So my problem with Facebook and my problem with YouTube has always been, more so Facebook than YouTube, has always been that they won't call it something else. So let me ask you real quick.
The streaming part.
Yes. Yeah. Like when you think of Facebook, okay, let's say not in the streaming sense. When you think of Facebook, like what comes to mind for you?
Something that I never check. It's where my grandparents are. Family.
Yeah, it's for me, it's where political arguments happen between members of my family, and I don't want any part of it. I haven't been on Facebook in a long time.
It's been a while.
So for me, when I think of like when Mixer ended, it was, man, that sucked so much because like we hit partner, and then 2 months later they're like, hey, we're closing shop, and it was like, no, wait, I just started. You know, it was kind of like, okay, do I go to Facebook? And then I just like, I didn't overthink it. I just like, okay, what do I think of when I think of Facebook? Do I think of anything having to do with gaming? Right. No. And until Facebook Gaming changes the name from Facebook Gaming to something else, it doesn't even matter what it is. I'm not going near it. I'm not going near it because Facebook already means something to me, and it doesn't mean streaming.
Right.
It was a similar experience with YouTube. With YouTube, I was much more interested in YouTube than anywhere else.
Sure.
And for exactly what you're talking about with the discoverability, I wanted to start making more content on YouTube. So I sort of felt like kind of being in that ecosystem, maybe it would make me more likely to make YouTube content. But it was sort of the same deal. Like when I think of YouTube, I think of videos. I think of 10-minute videos that I watch. I think of compilations that I watch. I think of somebody who's going to dissect Batman the Dark Knight in like 100th different way that I've never seen before. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I want to see that. You know, like I always think of videos. I don't think of streams. And until YouTube Gaming calls it something different, again, I don't think of, like, I almost try and like put my mind in the mind of like a kid. And like, if I'm a kid, like Facebook, no, there's no way. YouTube, I like YouTube, but I don't know it for streams.
Sure.
And so I could have gone to one of the other platforms, Caffeine, and I don't know if Brime is actually a thing or not. And there's a few other ones. But I thought to myself, like, okay, Mixer went out, Mixer went down. That was a lot of work. And I know that I'm not starting over on Twitch, but it was still a lot of work. And it kind of left me feeling like I want to go to a place that I am certain is going to be around at least 20 years from now, 10 years from now, long term. And I thought that Mixer would have been because it was backed by Microsoft. It
was Microsoft, right?
Right. And so like I never had the concern like I had with like Caffeine and some of the other ones of like, well, I don't know if this is going to be around for a while.
Right.
And with Mixer, I was just like backed by Microsoft. We got the next gen Xbox coming out. It's going to do better than the last gen, which means there's going to be a Mixer dashboard, or Mixer's going to be on the dashboard. There's going to be fresh eyes and new viewers who are coming to Mixer. And, you know, we didn't make it to the next generation for Xbox. So that kind of like burnt me out a little bit. I'm just like, you know what? I think Twitch is going to be where I go. I'm interested to see another, like, I planted my flag with Mixer. I was like, ride or die with Mixer. Well, they died.
Yep.
I am not necessarily ride or die with Twitch.
Okay.
I've heard some rumors about Spotify maybe coming out with a streaming service. I would be interested in looking at Spotify.
Okay.
I like what Spotify does. I like that they're not owned by anybody except for themselves. But for right now, the streaming culture is on Twitch.
Yeah, it is.
And the viewers are on Twitch. So I think that's kind of how I ended up on Twitch.
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense. I mean, for me, it was a natural decision to stream with YouTube because I'd already been making content there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's where I had, this built-in audience, so to speak.
Right.
And it sort of made the transition to stream really easy. Because people showed up right away, first time. And back a couple of years ago when I streamed on Mixer for 2 months straight, I mean, let's be honest, I only gave it 2 months, but I streamed for 2 months trying to make it work, and I didn't see any. I saw nothing in it, so I diverted all my attention to YouTube.
What game were you playing on Mixer?
A lot of Apex, a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's like this sweet spot for games that are like outside of the top 10 but within the top 20 that like if you're not right there and you're starting out, like no one's gonna see you.
Yeah, I got a few viewers here and there. It was like
I shouldn't say no one, but
but it was like 0 to 2,
Yeah.
And it was really tough, like you said, to just kind of talk the whole time, especially when I'm trying to win a match, So I'm like really focused on the game, and it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got past that, and YouTube seemed like the natural thing because I'd already built this audience on YouTube, and
right.
I like what they do, but I think there's some things they could do better for sure. I don't know. It's really funny because when I heard about the Mixer news, and then I was watching your content, right? Because I see pretty much every post because I'm like, I like it, and the algorithm it keeps feeding me. So I'm like watching it. I'm watching
that, by the way.
Yeah, no worries. And so I was watching this, and I'm like, oh, he's got to go to YouTube. He's got to go to YouTube. I'm like, YouTube's the dark horse. And so I'm like, in my mind, I'm having this like, I don't know. I'm like, I was betting with myself, like, where's he gonna go? Is he gonna go to YouTube? He's gonna go to Twitch. He's definitely not going to Facebook. But then something in the back of my mind was like, maybe he does go to Facebook because they're offering partner status for anyone that is already a partner.
$2,500 if you stayed on there for 90 days.
Wow, no way.
I think that was only for certain people. I don't know if I would have been considered in that, but yeah, I had. I mean, there were a bunch of reasons to stay with Mixer into Facebook. But
yeah. Again, it's weird though. I mean, Mixer just it's almost like it just never caught on. It just couldn't get past like. What did it end up? It died with like what 3 or 4% of the streaming market or something like that. I mean, it just
it's a good question. I don't remember the exact numbers. It was definitely somewhere like that.
It was single digits, and it just
100%.
It could never get past that. And you look at the amount of viewership that Twitch had, the amount of viewership that YouTube had, and literally I can't name one other YouTube streamer other than like big podcasts that I listen to that stream. So I just like. YouTube has this big, and then Twitch, and then Mixer was way down here, and I just couldn't figure it out. Like, it's got the power of Microsoft, it's got the built-in audience of people turning on their Xboxes, and I just couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out why it never worked, but it just never got past single digits in terms of market share, and ultimately I think that's what killed it. But
yeah, I think when you're coming from behind in a market that's already dominated by Twitch, you have to do some things that are going to make you stand out. When it came out with the faster than light speed, like the low latency, that was huge. That was amazing. Huge. Yeah. And Twitch still doesn't have sub-second latency, but it has gotten a lot better because of Mixer. But Mixer, I think Microsoft thought, hey, we can promote this on our stuff and just kind of throw money at it, and like we can make this work. And I think one of the things that, and I feel like I can judge other Mixer streamers since I was one. I think one of the things that Mixer streamers really didn't do well was try to grow on other platforms to bring them to Mixer to then help grow Mixer. At least everything that I saw, and I shouldn't say everything. I've had conversations with people who are Mixer streamers about this same exact thing, who are in agreement with me. And I don't want to come off as just kind of like, some jerk who doesn't like other Mixer streamers. But there's this constant question of like, well, what is Mixer doing for us? And how are they going to improve this? And how are they going to improve this? And how are they going to improve this? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all we have to do is put on a good show.
Right.
If we just put on a good show and we
Back
can
to
let
audience.
everybody know on social media, hey, we're putting on a good show over here. Come check it out. And they come check it out. And it is a good show. Well, then people stay on Mixer.
Yep.
Like, I think it's just so simple and so fundamental. And there were some people who did really good live streams, but just no social media presence.
Yeah.
Or it was on Twitter. And no offense, but like, if your social media presence is Twitter, it's likely just with other streamers. So it's like it's like talking shop at work.
Right.
It's like it's not actually growing your audience. It's all people who are also streaming. Whereas Instagram, there's tons of people who found me through Instagram, come and watch me all the time. They don't stream. They don't, they may not have even thought of streaming or anything like that before, but like they found me because I show up in the Halo hashtags or in the Call of Duty hashtags or whatever it is. But I think it's just kind of like Mixer was doomed because there wasn't this culture of sort of like getting our stuff out there. And even the Mixer social media, I mean, dude, it drove me nuts, man. I messaged, I don't know how many times to Mixer. I'm just like, hey, look, if you're looking for somebody to just post stuff all the time on social media to help you with the algorithms, like, hey, I'm doing it. Like, put me in charge of your account. We could do streamer stories. We could do bios on all the streamers. We could do like little like HBO kind of things where we're like checking out somebody who's just going full time. Can they make it work? Like, what's the drama going on there? How are things at home? I had so many ideas for what they could do with their social media, but like all they would put up is like new stickers. And it's like, come on, nobody cares about that outside of Mixer.
Right. You,
oh, man.
I'm glad you actually said full time because that kind of was one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, do you think that the transition to full time is far off? Is it near? Or do you think you've got a ways to go? I'm just, where do you think you are right now?
Probably far off. I am okay. So in my mind, I don't have a time frame.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do this until I'm 90 because I like doing it. If I can do it full time before then, fantastic.
Sure.
Worst comes to worst, dude. If I retire or get fired or lose my job at the post office, I get a job somewhere else. I'm always gonna be doing that. I love this until I don't love it. I love this, and so I'm going to be doing it. I've been doing it long enough for nobody watching me that I think I'll be doing this for a long time.
Sure.
I don't. The problem too is like I was probably if I was where I'm at right now 2 years ago, I'm close. But that's because I didn't have a steady job with the post office who has me working a lot of hours and is paying me okay or paying me well, I'll say. So now to replace my income would be higher and would be more. And I don't necessarily have to replace my income, but I need to make sure that health insurance is taken care of. All those things are taken care of. And I know that once I start producing content full time, I'll be able to do a lot more things and I think grow more. So, but until that point, I have to do I think I have a lot more work. I think I have a lot longer to go just because I do only stream 9 hours a week right now.
Sure.
And you know what? I'll be honest, it's probably more likely that I end up doing something in Instagram. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm probably far off. I'll just
you know what? It feels to me the same way. Like I want to put a time frame on it, like but at the same time, I can't because it is something I love doing. Like I really love creating the content and having people consume it and then ask me questions and I help them. Like it feels like I'm helping people, which is great.
Are you okay if I share numbers real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the most I've made in a month is $600.
Okay.
That is just from like the embers or the bits and the subs and stuff like that. That's the most that I've made was 600.
Okay.
If I was also doing merchandise, if I was also getting, like a sponsorship deal or something like that, and there were a couple other things going on, and maybe if the subscribers was like, in the high hundreds, closer to 1,000, maybe then I could consider it. But it's not 600 every single month.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, what is 600? Like, how many times do I need 600 in a month to actually make this work? And like, so that's where I think like I'm still still far away.
Right.
I have a family to take care of.
Right.
So, again, if I was just like fresh out of college or something like that, or fresh out of high school, had no job, I'd be a full-time streamer right now, right? Because I'd have no expenses. I'd be living off of ramen, noodle soup or whatever.
Have a couple of roommates, be good to go.
I'd pay $200 for rent, right? I'm living with like 18 other people. So it's full-time is very relative to different people.
Sure.
So I'm probably still far away off.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I got too many responsibilities. I mean, I don't have any kids, but I have the house. I've got a good job. I've got the wife. I mean, I have a bunch of nieces, like a bunch of them. So we have, like, my brothers have kids, and my wife's brother and sister have kids. So we have like a lot of the little ones coming around, and so there's just to put it to perspective. When your siblings start to have kids, like a lot of them, all of a sudden, your bills increase every single year because Christmas presents, right? Christmas presents,
birthday presents,
birthdays, Christmas, everything. It's like we went from buying for like maybe 5 or 6 or 7 people, immediate family, to like 27 people. And I'm like, Jesus. So anyway, no, I have a few responsibilities too, so I don't feel very close either. My numbers are really similar to yours in terms of what I've been able to make in a month on YouTube, and that mostly comes from the monetized videos, like the advertising that gets played on my videos. I don't think I've eclipsed 600 one time. I mean, that's about it. So I think we're in pretty close. We're in very similar.
Check it out.
Very similar locations in our careers.
We're gonna buy a house and move in together. We can almost pay for a mortgage.
Exactly. But out here in California, man, it's
never mind.
Very expensive.
We'll have to meet up in the middle of the country somewhere.
Exactly. But there was another thing I wanted to ask you. Actually, it was more about your family.
Shoot.
Do you have you shared with your parents, your immediate, like your family? Do you have any brothers and sisters? And have you shared with them what the dream is? And like, do they understand it? Do they support it? How do they feel about it?
My parents have always been great. They've supported everything that I've ever done. I did network marketing, like when I was like 19 or 20 years or so, and we sold like energy. We didn't sell energy, but we did like home utilities and stuff like that. It wasn't an actual product. And they supported me with that. I went to I wanted to go to bartending school, and they were like, a bartender, you can mix up. Like, they've always been supportive of literally everything that I've always done or I've ever done. And when it came to streaming, it was no different. Like, my dad would hang out in the stream sometimes. He's so funny because like any message he would put like a dash, and then he would put my parents live in North Carolina, so he'd put a dash and then put like NC, like, so I knew it was him. I'm like, Dad, you don't have to do that. Like, I see your username. Like, you don't have to put the dash NC. I know that it's you.
Right.
But like, they're so sweet. Yeah. And they support me. My dad was like, how do you do the Amazon Prime thing? I'm like, Dad, I'll just do it when I see you next time. Like, there's a couple steps to do that. But yeah, I mean, my family's always been really supportive and really good about it. And there at a certain point, man, there's just something that I didn't care anymore. Like, I would tell people like exactly what I want to do. And I think like now that I have a family and I have kids, like, I'm probably a little bit more realistic with stuff than I was before. Before it was like, in like 2 years, I could figure out a way to sell enough hot dogs down the shore to make, 6 figures a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd be like, all right, dude, yeah, go for it. And it's like, now that I have a wife and kids, it's like, hey, look, I have this secure job and I'm working this, and this is working. My family's working and everything is working. And now streaming is working. And it's like, I'm going to keep doing this. And I've made this much in a month. And maybe if I could do a couple other things, that might get me to the point where I can get close to going full time. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, we can kind of see that. And that seems reasonable.
Right.
So I think my family's always been supportive in nature. And then like, they know that it's not, I think they would tell me if they thought that it was bad for me.
Yeah.
They'd be like, hey, good. Nobody's watching you. You've been doing this for 5 years. You should probably stop.
Yeah, mine's similar, but they don't understand it as much, I think. And it's
okay.
Yeah, they it's not that they're old or anything either. They just don't understand the work that goes into creating content.
Sure.
And then because of that, they see it as like, oh, you're just doing your little YouTube video thing.
Yeah, you're doing your little YouTube thing,
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, just imagine 20,000 people in front of you. All of them have subscribed to my channel, guys.
Yep.
And then they go like, oh, wait, what? That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. And I thought that way from the beginning. I was like, what if there were 200? Like when I was at 100 or 200 subs, I was like, 200 people standing in front of me. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know,
I used to think about that with streaming for how many people followed me. I was just like, wow, I can't even imagine that many people.
Yeah, what if you were doing like a public, some sort of public speech, and it was like there was 20 people there. You're like, whoa, there's a lot of people here.
That is, yeah.
Anyway, they're
streaming,
okay.
I feel like streaming's easier to explain. I always tell people, I'm just like, look, you like sports, right? And I like sports or whatever. Like whatever they like, I'll take it to. But let's say it's sports. Say like, okay, you like, I live in Philadelphia. You like the Eagles, right? Yeah. I like the Eagles. Who's your favorite player on the Eagles? I love Nick Foles. I love Carson Wentz. Like, okay, imagine if you were watching Carson Wentz and he's playing football, and then when he goes and sits on the bench, you have a conversation with him, and you're watching him play football, but he's having a conversation with you, and maybe he's having a conversation with you and like a bunch of other people, but. When you say, hey, Carson Wentz, got a question for you, he pays attention to you. And then when he goes out there on the field, he goes, hey, Greg, watch this. Watch what I'm going to do right here. And then he goes and does it. But he's talking to you. As like, so it's entertainment, except that the entertainment is interacting with you. And whenever I compare it to like that, they go like, oh, I do get that. And then they go, well, why do they send you money? And then I go, well, I don't understand that.
I don't understand either.
I don't understand that one, but
it's welcome. I mean, for sure. I tell people you don't have to donate at all. You are donating enough just by watching the videos that I'm making, but it is much appreciated. I put it all right back into the content.
Same.
I really the goal is to continue to put it back into the content, giveaways, equipment that makes the view better or whatever. But I try to put it all right back into the content, and I think it's something that the viewers recognize, and it makes them want to come back and support you again in the future, I think.
Yeah. My viewers, I used to sit on these lawn chairs, and I was fine with the lawn chair. Like I really, like, it wasn't that uncomfortable. People are like, dude, your back. I'm like, my back's fine. Okay. Like I walk for a living. Okay. My back is fine. And, but they put together, I don't know how much this chair is, like $360, $380 for this chair. And, they got to see it, and it's like, hey, that money that we gave him, like, there it is. It's right there on the screen. Or like, hey, we can tell you have a better camera now. Hey, you have this alert and you have this thing, and we know like our money went to that. So I think it's just like, this is just another tip for anybody who's like starting out. If you get paid anything by anybody, do not spend that on anything personal. Don't waste it on food, especially. Like, put it right back in, especially if you're making some money from this. One, you can avoid paying all your taxes if you're spending all of your money back and reinvesting it back into your little venture that you're doing. But two, it's like, that's going to help you grow, and it's going to help you do things better. Don't spend it on other stuff. It drives me nuts when people are like, yeah, I don't have any money left. I'm like, what happened to all that money that you made this month? And they're like, well, I spent it on bills. It's like, why? You have a job.
Exactly. Let the job pay for the bills, man. That's what I say. Yeah, that's what I say. Well, I don't think I had anything else for you. Do you have anything for me? If you have any questions about anything I do, or I don't know.
When it comes to like what you do creatively while you're not, because this is something I love asking people, like, when do you come up with your ideas to do things, and how do you go about like taking an idea that you have creatively? I think this would be really good for anybody who's thinking about YouTube too. Like, how do you then like put that into like video form? Like, what is it, like a format that you already have, and then you take your creative idea and you kind of like just throw it onto that format that you have, or like how do you, and like, when does the idea come in, and how do you kind of build that into something that turns into a video or something that you do? Yeah.
So my brain never turns off ever. I'm always thinking about content. I mean, it's, except for if anyone from my work's listening, except for when I'm at work, I don't think about content.
Right. Yeah. When you're at work, you're thinking about work and nothing else.
Just work. No, my brain's my brain is always going, and I'm always thinking about what the next video is, or the next series of videos, or what could be helpful. And I try my best. The nature of my content is really helpful. It's informational. It's factual with regards to the game that I make content for. So I'm trying to constantly put myself in the viewer's shoes, and I go, if I was this person, what would I want to know about whatever the idea is, okay? And then I try to execute that in a way that is easy to digest, but entertaining and informational at the same time. And I'm telling you, I miss more than I more than I kick the ball through the uprights. I miss, okay?
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I get it through the uprights, and people pay attention, and the video goes off, and that creates more return customers, so to speak. So anyway, I'm kind of all over the place, but I never turned off. An idea comes to my mind at 12 o'clock when I'm going to bed. It'll come to my mind right when I wake up in the morning, and I have to frantically write it down because I will forget. My memory's terrible. So I'll write it down on my phone and then try to explore it later.
Is there anything that you do? Like, have you ever gotten to the point where like maybe your brain's not turning off, but you're having a hard time coming up with something? Is there anything that you do to kind of like, I don't know, like some people call it like getting into a rut or something like that. Is there anything that you do to kind of like jog things to like kind of like get yourself back to like where you are coming up with ideas over and over? Or are you just a creative machine?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. I'm not a creative machine. What happens is I'll have like a series of ideas, and I'll write them all down it'll be like a cluster of things that happens in like an hour time, right? And I write them all down, and then later when I'm ready to actually explore those ideas and try to develop them into what would be a video, a lot of times I throw them out. Like I'll throw out 3 or 4 out of the 5 that I came up with, so I'm left with 1, and then I go, what's next? Because I only have 1 video for this week, and I'm like,
right.
So anyway, my best advice for someone who's like had kind of hit a block, or like, I just step away for a couple of days. I try to clear my head. I try to, I don't know, drink a few beers and get in the hot tub, or like spend time with the wife, or like just try to like not think about it for a day or two. And then I go back to the same type of mentality. What would the viewer need? What am I missing in the content?
Right.
What instructional video is relevant to what people are doing now? I mean, I have, because I'm creating content on a specific game right now, it's all Need for Speed based, and the game is, I'll be honest, the game is sort of at its tail end. I mean, they haven't had an update since March. So the content that I'm creating now is like kind of filling the holes, so that when you look back, you go, okay, I made the video on how to get experience, or how to get money, or I have all those holes filled, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
But as
I'm a Halo fan,
yeah.
So I follow a lot of Halo YouTubers, and we've been doing that for like the last 5 years. It's just been like literally like Halo YouTubers are like reviewing all the toys that come out and looking for clues for what's going to be in the campaign, because we are so desperate for anything. So I totally get what you're saying.
So anyway, that's when I get blocked, or I don't have an idea, I try to do my best to step away for a little bit, and what that little bit could be a couple of hours, it could be a couple of days, I don't know. I mean, I'm constantly playing video games. That never stops. I'm always playing,
right?
And sometimes ideas come from playing the game as well. But
okay,
I don't know. I think a little break. That's really how it kind of gets me going again. Is just to take a little break and then come back with a fresh perspective and see what happens. So
okay,
yeah. But speaking of Halo, though, I mean, we had a little reveal like a couple days ago. I saw your thoughts that you wrote down on. I saw your thoughts that you wrote down on Instagram.
Yeah, they've already changed. But go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you want to elaborate, or do you want to like tell me where you're at now? It's been a few days. You've had time to think about it, and maybe rewatch and see where you're at with it.
What has made me really optimistic about this next Halo is nothing about the reveal. There's this, and I put this up on my Instagram. This like 30-second moment when you're riding up this elevator, and you hear the Halo chant going, and you see the whole Halo, and it's been like 15 games since we've been on a Halo. So it's like you're on a Halo, and you hear the music, and it's just like, wow, it's just beautiful. And you got these drop ships coming along, and it just looks, I mean, like the second level in the first Halo game, it's like that's what this mission is, and it's very clear. And it's like, this is just awesome. I can't wait to do this. But like, as a Halo fan, I analyze Halo to death. I kill it. I analyze it to death. And I just felt like there were so many people who were watching this trailer. There's like 250,000 on Twitch. There was a whole ton on YouTube and everything else. And I just thought, this looks great for me, but if you're outside of Halo, what's there for you? And since I've been listening to other interviews and other podcasts, there's other things that they should have talked about, because this game sounds awesome.
Really?
Open world, okay? Like open world in like a true sense. Different sections of the Halo are closed off to you until you do certain things. So it's a story mode. You go through different areas, unlock as you're going through. It almost reminds me of like GTA 3, where you had no access to the second or the third island until you did a certain number of missions, and then you could get over there. And I thought about that. I was like, oh, that kind of seems interesting to me. Then I found out that there's different equipment that you have to go and find and get. And then those pieces of equipment, like the grappling hook, or the grapple shot is officially what it's called, allow you to get to certain areas that you couldn't get to before. So it was like, oh wait, this is like Halo meets Legend of Zelda. Like, what is this? This actually sounds really interesting to me.
That sounds cool.
I was actually watching a little bit more of the gameplay too, and there's this brute who starts charging at the Master Chief, and Master Chief starts shooting his leg, and then the brute stumbles. And I'm like, hold on a second. If we have open world where I have to go and find different pieces of equipment to unlock different pieces of the Halo ring, and I can basically travel throughout the entire thing. I'm getting a Halo story. It's all about Master Chief. They are going to tie together everything that's happened from the last two Halos, which is good, because I'll be honest, I haven't been the biggest fan of the story over the last two Halos. So if they're tying all that together to then basically have this as a spiritual reboot, and we're starting fresh in this game, it's a new style campaign. I love The Legend of Zelda. So Halo meets The Legend of Zelda. Okay, I'm on board. And like, if you shoot different body parts, like maybe if you shoot different body parts, like that affects the enemy in some ways. Like, this could be really interesting. This could be a really cool campaign. But you didn't get any of that. No, you didn't get any of that during the reveal. So the reveal is kind of like, to me, it's like they swung and they got on like first base, you know? But like, I think this campaign is actually going to be really, really awesome.
Yeah.
Multiplayer, I'm still not sure. I'm one of those OG Halo players who hates sprint, and I think that it ruined the game, and every Halo has sucked since Halo 3. Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to get too technical here, but what happens is when they build maps to accommodate sprint, then what happens is everything kind of gets expanded and wider and longer. And then when you're not sprinting and you're standing there and you're shooting at people, like, if you think about it, like ratio wise, like if you take the level, this is going to be way too into the weeds. It slows down gameplay and it makes the game slower. And I can prove it to you if you give me 35 minutes. I think it's ruined. I really do think that it's made Halo a much worse experience, but I still think Halo 5 is the second best Halo multiplayer, and that has sprint in it, so it's not bad. Okay.
All right. Well, my experience with Halo is it is the thing that made me switch from PS3 to Xbox 360.
Okay. Which Halo did it?
3.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't play 1 and 2 before I played 3. I saw 3 and it looked amazing. So I just bought a 360 and bought 3, and it's the reason why I still play on an Xbox today.
Same.
I played the other Halos. I'm not like really deep into it because it's just that's not something I did, but like, it's the reason why I'm on Xbox for sure, without a doubt. Yeah. Halo 3 is the reason why I switched over, and I never really saw the need to go back. And a Halo 5 was okay for me. I thought the campaign was okay, but a lot of people complained about it. So I mean, like, okay.
I liked the campaign. I really enjoyed my time playing through it. I could see afterwards, looking back, that there were like a lot of things that were kind of missing, and it seemed like cutscenes kind of just like ended real quick. But I think I enjoyed the campaign of Halo 5 much more than most people. Overall, the story, spoiler alert for a game that's 5 years old, the story of Cortana going evil, not my thing. I liked having the sarcastic chick talking in my ear and making jokes with me as I'm shooting aliens. I enjoy that experience. So when she's not in my ear talking to me and she's trying to kill me or capture me or whatever, it's like, okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited for another mainline Halo game. I think it's going to be fun to play no matter what. It's always fun to run around and shoot aliens. I played a lot of Destiny, and there's a lot of Destiny aspects to the way Halo feels. It kind of feels similar in terms of
I mean, it's Bungie, right? Totally makes sense.
So I think it'll be fun to run around and shoot aliens, and that's coming from maybe more of a casual perspective.
Sure.
You know, not someone who's super deep into the Halo lore or the way the games play or anything like that. But
your perspective is the important perspective. It's like, what does the casual gamer think of what Halo looks like? Because the Halo community right now is imploding on itself, arguing and fighting each other. Oh yeah, Jesus. Man. Dude, the problem with the Halo community is everybody has their own favorite Halo, and like this feels Halo. Everybody has a different perspective of what feels Halo. And so right now everybody's just like eating each other.
Oh Jesus.
But the casual Halo fans seem to be like, oh, this looks like Halo. This looks fun.
I think we're pumped. I've got a couple of friends who are casual Halo guys, and they're pumped. They're like, when is it going to be here? You know?
Yeah, that makes me very happy.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of, I'm kind of like disappointed. Not disappointed. I'm excited, but I'm like disappointed, like financially. Like, damn, I got to buy a new TV. I need to buy a new console this year. I got to buy all these. Yeah. But Xbox is coming through with all the Game Pass stuff, so I'm okay with the free games. It's awesome.
all the games coming out for the first year will work on your Xbox One, so you don't even have to buy a new console this year, which is amazing. And they haven't even announced the cheaper version of the Xbox the next generation. And it's like, I'm very happy with where Xbox is right now and where we're looking. And I think actually because of all the studios they've bought, I think I'm going to transition into Xbox variety streaming because like I want to play all these different games. I'm really excited for them.
Yeah, that's something that I not to get into kind of a deep talk, but that's something that I'm really struggling with personally is branching out into a different game, because what I've done is built this fairly small audience on a specific game. When I post content on that game, it gets views. When I put anything else out, it's like, it's okay. Yeah. There's some dedicated guys that watch because they like me and they'll watch you do anything. Yeah. But it's not, those spaces are already super flooded with content creators. So there's not like, I don't know how to put it. Like, it's like, I feel like I'm in a lane right now, and I'm looking to pivot. Like, I still want to make content for Need for Speed, but I'm looking to pivot into another game that's kind of fresh and new that I can grow the audience with. But I don't know what it is. And I'm like, I've got this little bit of anxiety that's like, man, what if it doesn't work? Am I basically starting over with a new game? Like, how is this going to work? Because my audience loves Need for Speed, but the game is sort of dying. So that's just something that I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going with it, but I would love to branch out. Do you feel that way when you stream?
100%. I played Fortnite for 2 years. And then one day I woke up, I'm like, I'm never playing this game again. I'm done. And so I stopped playing and I started playing other games, and literally all my viewers disappeared. And I was like, oh, okay. Nobody watched me for me, or they watched me with Fortnite. Like, if they were going to watch Fortnite, they wanted to watch me play Fortnite. But if I wasn't playing, then they weren't going to watch me. Yeah. And so I actually started completely over, and kind of like what helped me was when I was making Instagram content, and I was putting out so much content that was about my personality and it was about my family and it wasn't game specific. People started watching me and coming because they wanted to talk to me. Yep. So if I started playing some random game, West of Dead or State of Decay or, something else, people were on board because it was me, and they followed me for me, not because of a specific game. Right. But I mean, you see it with Halo and Minecraft. I have certain people who only show up if I play Halo, who only show up if I play Minecraft. I was actually just about to ask you this. Would it make sense for you to turn Militia Gaming into Militia Need for Speed and then start another YouTube channel that was then a little bit more less Need for Speed specific, but then you could keep that audience with Need for Speed and just make content for them, and then kind of invite people over to watch other things? Like, I don't know how it works in the YouTube world.
Yeah, I've thought about that, honestly. I've thought about it a lot, and I've talked it over with the wife a few times because I tend to bounce ideas and things off of her as well. But I think the challenge in that is that YouTube's algorithm gives you, like, it's almost like there's a check mark in the background that says that this account has authority in a specific, I don't know, a select number of keywords or however you want to put it. But I mean, it's way smarter than I am. But basically, you get this check mark. And once you have that, it is way easier to attract viewers and to get more views quicker. And
Right.
and it doesn't really matter what the content is. You can get more views with an account like mine on a game that I've never made content for than if I just started over with a brand new channel and made that same exact content. Like it's very interesting the way that it works. And
that makes sense.
I don't know where in the channel's lifetime you get that check mark, but it happens, and then you notice an immediate difference in the amount of views you get when you publish something. So I've really thought about it, and I think what I need to do is really just bite the bullet and start to make, small, like interject a small Apex video, for example, as I play Apex a lot. So put an Apex video out there, put 2 Need for Speeds and 1 Apex in a week, and then slowly start to, I don't know, but it's
weird because I've seen it work for some people, and then I've seen it not work for other people. Yeah. Like I remember Green Skull, he had a channel, and he was big in the Halo community. What was his? Ready Up Live. And when Halo 5 came out and then kind of started going away, I think he started doing Destiny stuff, and it just did not translate whatsoever. But then there's this other guy who was making Halo content, then started making Fortnite content, and his channel just exploded. He was the guy, I don't know if you ever saw the video, it was like, I landed in whatever place 100 times, and this is what happened. It was like excellent clickbait, excellent title, excellent thumbnail. And it was just like a really creative idea to do that kind of stuff. And now all of his videos are just like, I played on midship in Halo 2 100 times, and this is what I found. It's
you get a thing.
That's what he does for like everything now. But
you get a thing.
Yeah, some I've seen it work, and then I haven't seen it work for other people, and I can't tell you why it does or it doesn't.
I don't know.
But I think
it is terrifying. Yeah. The thought of doing it is terrifying, though, because I know where I was at the beginning, and I'm like, man, I don't want to go through that again. Like,
well, how many videos do you put up a week?
Currently, I'm around 3, and then a stream, so it comes up to around 3 to 4 a week, which is it's good. It's okay.
If you what if you started another YouTube channel and that was the one that you started doing Apex stuff for, or you worried about like, hey, I'm still not going to be able to get, like, instead of trying to change or have your audience switch over to a new game, which is not a sure thing that happens.
Right.
Like just starting another YouTube channel for that other game, just Militia Apex or whatever. Like, and just doing one video.
Yeah, it makes sense because this is why I've gone back and forth on it, because I know it's in a way it's starting over, but it's not really, because I'm now armed with all of the knowledge of how to make a successful video and how a channel progresses and what to expect. At the beginning, you don't know. I mean, I made content for a year without seeing any return on it. I'm not talking about money. I'm just like, it seemed like no one saw it. Yeah, no one saw it. So it took me a year to get to 1,000 subs. But once I got to 1,000 subs, it only took me a few months to get to 10,000. And it was like, so I know how it works.
I know how I felt about going from Mixer to Twitch. It was like, I'm starting over, but I'm not exactly starting over.
Right. I remember seeing that piece on Instagram. You were like, I'm starting over. And then it was like maybe a day later or like a few posts later, you're like, well, it's not really starting over, you know?
Yeah.
And I thought
you'll see my train of thoughts like throughout the hours of the day. I'm like, hold on, that was a dumb idea. This is actually what doesn't make sense.
I honestly love that, because there's not enough of that on Instagram for gamers. I'll tell you what, my wife watches like Instagram stories of different home decor accounts that she follows, and they are like all day they post content on stories.
Does she know Nothing with Grace? That's actually one my wife follows, and I started following, and she's giving me like some ideas for what to do. But it's all like home decor. Yeah, looks amazing. I'm just like, oh, she has like 1 million followers. I'm just like, wow, this is a real influencer right here.
But these ladies, they post content all day long, and it's very personal, and it's very honest, and it's about their family and their kids, and like their home, and like I mean it's a little bit brave in some ways, but I don't see that in the gaming community. And I saw it, you do it more than anyone else I follow. And I wish I had the ability to just jump on and just share everything with everybody, but I'm still kind of like, it's not natural for me. And
Sure.
I'm a little bit jealous or a little bit envious of people who can, because I think that's the way that you can be very successful on Instagram, is to share that personal. It's got to be more of a personal connection. And,
is it that you don't want to, or like you don't know how to, or?
I think, if I'm being really honest, I think it's a combination of laziness, and I think it's also, it's not natural for me. Like, it's not natural for me to have a thought about content, let's say, and then for me to immediately pick up my phone and go, "Hey guys," blah, blah, blah. Like, it just doesn't. It's not natural for me to share it, right? I'm 33 years old. I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand. I don't have. Not saying that you do, but just people.
I'm 29,
younger,
by the way. I'm not too far behind you.
Okay, so I didn't have a phone till I was, 17. The internet really wasn't. I
remember when there was no internet.
Yeah, the internet wasn't what it was when we did get phones. I mean, it was literally like text messaging, things like that. So I didn't have this like built-in share everything type of personality or upbringing, I should say. So so it's not natural for me. So I have to force myself to do it, and anything that I force myself to do, laziness can take over, and that's really what it comes down to. There's so much I could share every single day about where the content is at, what the next video is.
It would help you so much.
I know, and I know this, and my wife has been like hammering me on it. Like, you need to do this. And I just, like, every once in a while I get in this kick where, like, oh yeah, I got like a few days in a row, like, okay, great. I put a few things together, and then it just falls apart, and I stop doing it, and I'm focusing on the next video or whatever the case is. But I think laziness is the biggest culprit, honestly. Like,
here's a story for you, and I think that this is like really good for when it comes to like that kind of thing. Like, with the context of wanting to do something, and then you start doing it, and then you kind of give up on it, and then you come back to it a little bit later, and then you start doing it, and there's always this kind of like, I mean, don't let me speak for you, but like, say, well, I don't really feel that way if you don't feel this way. Sure. But like, for me at least, there's this part of me that's like kind of like beating myself up a little bit of like, hey man, you really should be doing this thing, and you know it'd be good for you, but you don't do it. For me, it's the gym and a million other things, and some things that I should be doing on social media. But I years ago, I smoked, and I don't have like, this isn't like you all need to quit smoking, but for me, I needed to quit smoking. And I think I quit like 37 times, and every time I quit, I thought to myself, I didn't think to myself like, okay, this is when I quit. Like, I always thought to myself like, okay, we're going for it here. We're gonna quit. And like, I would go a day, go 2 days, go 3 days, and then I would start smoking again, and then I would quit again. But like, I wouldn't beat myself up for the times that I quit and then I failed at quitting. And I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be okay with quitting as many times as I need to until I finally quit. And I think like when it comes to like making that kind of content, like, I'm not sure how to do this. I feel kind of like lazy about it. It's like, don't beat yourself up for not getting into a rhythm again, and just like use any excuse you can to like start it again. It's like, I love New Year's Eve because it's like, okay, what are these stupid habits that I want to do that I can't commit to? I'm going to do them. And then like every birthday, it's like, let me get back on that. Every Sunday, it's like, let me get back to this. And I think like, just giving yourself permission to kind of like screw it up over and over, but keep trying to do the thing that it is that you really want to do. And like, use this conversation and then start doing it again, and then when you screw up after that, then, next time your wife yells at you, then use that as a reason to do it again. Until it just becomes habitual and just like second nature. Yeah.
She's so funny too, because she knows that if I shared more and I was more active on Instagram, the account would grow, and then it would transition. They would transition to YouTube as well. So, I know that too, but I know it, but she just.
Did you put your? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just. She's constantly on me, and I love her for it because she's so supportive. Like, all of this stuff takes time away from her, So she has all the reason to tell me stop doing this, but
don't do it.
But she's constantly pushing me to do more.
Do you put your YouTube videos up on Instagram TV?
I was for a while, and
Okay.
I made the decision to stop doing that and to create 1 minute like previews of the videos because I wanted the views to go to YouTube. I didn't want people to watch the whole video on IGTV. And the IGTV was pretty successful for me as far as views go. It seemed like I got more views there than I did regular posts.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
actually, I think I found that too. I usually get like 300-400 views on my IGTV videos, but probably not as many on other videos usually.
Yeah, so it was okay. It was successful for me, but I think I really want to provide sort of like an appetizer for someone on Instagram and then have them transition,
have them come over to YouTube.
Yeah, and go eat the steak on YouTube. That's at least the strategy I'm trying now. And it was a while back that I stopped doing that. But if the preview or that appetizer is a little bit longer than a minute, then I'll throw that on IGTV.
That makes sense.
But I don't create a lot of content specifically for IGTV at all.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I know that IGTV is like they push IGTV content because like not enough people are making IGTV content.
No.
And so like my videos always kind of go further on IGTV. Yeah. I was just wondering.
You know, you're I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, like, overall, just thinking about your Instagram health and just like what's going on.
My Instagram is so stagnant right now. I mean, I did everything I could to get to 10,000 because I wanted to have the ability to have a swipe up link so that I could start to link to, YouTube and things like that. And I finally got there, but it's just stopped. It's like it's there, but again, I'm not doing any story, like any consistent story content.
Nuke it. See, this is the kind of personality I am. Just nuke it. Just blow it up, rebrand it, start a new video of like, I'm doing this. We're sticking to it. I'm doing this. We're having this, and I mean, like, do whatever it is that you want.
Right.
But those minute-long videos that I put up, I used to put them up every single day. And I think I might. I keep going back and forth of like, am I putting up too much content? Is it not enough content? And like, I keep having this like an internal battle with myself of whether or not I should put up more or less content. But when I was putting up these, like, I would put up these daily videos of like just a minute long of like whatever I was thinking about that day. Those videos never did the best, but they always converted the most from people coming from Instagram to my Twitch channel or whatever. And just like, people being able to just see your face, man. I think like, just blow it up, nuke it, come up with a new strategy for your Instagram and just start posting whatever.
I need to just post. I mean, I post videos, but I need to be on stories. I mean, that's really like my
stories is where it's at, man.
My New Year's resolution starting, tomorrow. I should post some stories.
Yeah. You know what you should do too? And like, I hate being the person. You know what you should do?
Right.
Do whatever you want. Gary Vaynerchuk has he has a lot of like creative ideas for like what kind of content to put out on Instagram. And I followed his stuff for a while, and he's one of the people who's just like put a million things out every single day. And I used to do that, and that helped me grow a lot for sure. Which like I'm literally having this thought right now, like, speaking to the kind of content that I put on Instagram, I think I will get back to putting more stuff on Instagram because I've really taken like I've wanted to put like less stuff up for some stupid reason. I don't know why I started thinking that, but I guess what I was gonna say is he has this thing where it's like what's it called? His deck or something like that. And in the deck, it shows like different kind of pieces of content that you can put up, and then kind of like walks you through like how to do it and then what platforms you can put them up on. And for the Instagram ones, it's like, take a tweet and then clip it and then throw that up on Instagram, and take a picture and then throw that up on Instagram. And like, if you just had like, and this is something that I've done, I have in my phone, like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm putting up this kind of content and a clip from my stream, and this kind of content and a clip from my stream, and this kind of content and a clip from my stream. And I think that like just having regular stuff, like that'll snap your account right back, man.
Oh, for sure. For sure. This is here, let me share something with you. Let's see.
Oh, beautiful.
I don't know if you can see this very well.
Beautiful. I can see it. Yeah.
So this is like videos and all kinds of stuff. So I keep this. I write this every month, and at the very top, I always have like the starting number of subs that I had, and then the ending. I write it down at the end of the month, so I know what type of growth I saw that month, and then in my mind I look at how much content did I create versus how much did I grow, and was the effort rewarded? And I'm telling you, the more content that gets on that calendar, the more numbers that come through, and it's just doing it consistently is really what it is.
Put out more. I think you're right. I want to get back to it. Like when I was posting like 6-7 times a day, I felt so good doing it. Like there's something that just felt good. Let me ask you a question too. Another question I had for you. How come? Well, I shouldn't say how come. Have you thought about on YouTube, instead of having like just the digital version of you and the digital version of your guest, of just putting up like your actual self talking and your guest talking, if you have that footage? Have you thought about doing that?
As far as the podcast goes? Yeah, absolutely. The original idea for the podcast was based around 2 other people that are not able to come here to record and don't have cameras.
Okay.
So what we were doing in the very beginning, and that's why some of the audio is so crappy in the very beginning, the first 4 episodes were with those 2 other people or friends of mine, and we would just have an Xbox party, and I would record it, and that was it. And so I had to have, because I wanted to only just put this on YouTube, I had to have some sort of visual component. And I thought, instead of just making like a podcast name and a logo and just having a static image this whole time, wouldn't it be cool if we had like our Xbox, like our what do you call them, avatars, and have those like on the screen whenever someone was talking? That's a cool idea. And so I ran with that.
Yeah.
But I
think that's better.
But I think going forward, and this one in particular, I wanted to start with some video because
I did my hair today, so
I know.
This is
I didn't. I got out of the shower and like it's bad. But
we had some newborn photos taken today, so I was like,
oh, that's good. That's good. But anyway, going forward with the podcast, I think I'm really transitioning away from being like just a few guys that are friends and just talking and having fun to interviewing creative people and cool. Specifically in the gaming industry, obviously, but like content creators, you included. I have a couple of the people that I'm really interested in, and hopefully I can get them on. And those people tend to have microphones and cameras, and so I want to have a visual component to this. And I think I'll start with this one if you're okay with it. And thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. And we'll end this one for now. We'll talk later. I'm sure I'll hit you up on Instagram.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it, man.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.